I guess those of you really into astrology and numbers probably have some explanations for February 27th and Steph Curry, which, don't they have days like in cities, right? Is it going to be declared in the Bay Area February 27th, Steph Curry Day? Every day, Steph Curry Day in the Bay, right? Um, yeah, man. When we initially made the move and the couple games went by, right? And it was like, in theory, with Jimmy here now, Steph doesn't have to do as much heavy lifting. So when we really do need him, we can get the chef. We can get Olympic Steph. That was like high top Steph. That was fro Steph. That was thizzle face Steph last night. Because we've seen him get hot, but the aggression and the willingness to empty the clip was different. One, because he had the energy, because we haven't had to rely on him as much, right, in the last 2 weeks. And two, I also think there's an aspect of him not having to pace himself, knowing, all right, I'll empty the clip. Y'all need me tonight. You do some lifting on Saturday night against Philly, Jimmy, right? Like he feels more confident in the players around him to empty the clip on a given night when it was needed. And it was very clear last night after the first half in Orlando, it was needed, right? The Magic obviously have tumbled. They were kind of a similar start to the season as the Warriors. They didn't make a big move at the trade deadline, but they come out of the gate like gangbusters, and everybody's like, oh, okay, this is the year for them to really make a splash, kind of like Houston East with the young core. They've had some injuries. Obviously, Ben Caro, Suggs is still out, and that's hurt what they do. I am curious why they don't play at more pace. I think with that size and athleticism, playing at more pace would benefit them. But they come out and they're hitting everything, right? And you look on the floor at the matchups and you're like, ooh, I don't really like that one. Don't really like that one as far as just the size and athleticism. And it was clear stuff was like, all right, get on my back. Let's do this, right? And yeah, man, I don't know. Listen, in the past, I've been accused of being a Steph hater. I think for most of you that watch the channel and the content understand that I'm not, right? Like now, could you accuse me of not appreciating Steph? Absolutely. Like from a game to game basis. And it's like, sometimes I don't know what to say. You don't have to explain what's already understood type of thing. And there's so much focus on Steph. I try to focus on the other details of things. But I mean, at this age to do that is insane. And again, it was the assertiveness. That's what we've seen older Steph get hot and have big games, but he attacked like a young guy, like a guy that wasn't worried about getting tired or pacing himself. And I think that that's what stuck out to me in the matchup. And he took advantage. Look, listen, their size dominated us in that first half, but it was also in part the reason Steph got free. You have all these giant wings trying to chase him around, but I don't know if it would have mattered if, the 92 Dream Team was out there against Steph last night. It felt like those were going to go in no matter what. It was just one of them days, February 27th. Now, I do think that there were some rotational things that maybe they figured out throughout this game, right? Where first and foremost, they didn't give Paolo Banchero his proper respect from the start of the game. I understand you want to dare him to shoot from the perimeter, but we basically guarded him like just any other player. We didn't really send doubles. Like we helped off him if he was outside, and we paid the cost for that, right? And then you look at the size of this Orlando team. I don't know how you would really quantify what the biggest team in the league is if you just went like the average height or whatever. If you want to like actuality, Orlando might be the biggest team in the league. When you talk about big bodies that are athletic, move and play a lot, right? They don't have a 7'6" guy or, the average of it, but they're one of the bigger, more physical athletic teams in the league. And we know that's proven to be an issue. And so they go to this small ball lineup. And the other mistake I thought they made early on was you go to Loon with the second unit instead of Quenton Post, when we need that spacing with how big and athletic they are defensively, right? Jimmy and the second unit minutes, right? It was kind of a role reversal from what we've seen in these first 2 weeks with Jimmy, where Jimmy and that second unit have, let's be honest, they've carried us in a lot of games in the last 10 days or so. But this was all Steph, as we know. It was like, who else is going to kick in? And the second unit looked really bad, and Jimmy wasn't shooting. It was the worst Jimmy's looked in a Warrior uniform. Now, I don't know if he had a late night in his coffee shop down in Miami. He was back in his old stomping grounds. He might have, I was thinking early on, I was like, maybe Jimmy and Draymond was out, playing dominoes on South Beach. But I think that there is a stylistic reason for it. When you look at Orlando, has been his division rival for the last 6 years, so they're very familiar with him, right? And then their size and athleticism, when he gets the ball, second unit, it's Jimmy time. It's Jonathan Isaac on him, who, if you're not familiar with, when he's healthy, when he's available, you could easily say is a top 10 defender in this league, a top 10 wing defender. He's that good. So that didn't help his cause. And then again, all that size and big bodies in the paint, there was no space for him to play bully ball, as well as Orlando knowing his tendencies. And so all of a sudden, the second unit looked really rough. And that's what I kind of wanted to focus on with the rotations are. I love that Kerr went to Kevin Knox for a couple of minutes. Now, it was a tough ask. Hey, jump in there and guard a hot Ben Caro and a hot Wagner. They're already hot. Just, do what you can. But I thought he held up fine. But my point is, we continue to treat Buddy Hield as if he's a shot creator. And I think that Kerr moving forward has to recognize in certain matchups or nights where Buddy's kind of buddying around the court, why not go to Knox? Why not go to Guy Santos? If we need to play bigger, in the past, you can look at the bench and you're like, we can't play bigger. But now with Guy and Knox hopefully in the fold for the rest of the season, I think you could alter some of these second unit matchups and when it comes to certain teams and play with more length and more size. And Knox actually, I think, can create a shot. Buddy, in theory, because he's a movement shooter, it works with our sets. But we don't need to do that with the second unit with Jimmy anyway. So it makes more sense to me to go to Knox and Guy. And you saw that to start the fourth quarter where he went back to Post and Guy, and we had a little more size, right? Speaking of Quenton Post, we're going to have to reevaluate the ceiling on this. I was going to say, kid, he's a grown-ass man, dog. Quenton Post, a grown-ass man, right? And, as we learned him, we all knew the reputation he's going to shoot it. And it was like, okay, he's got a super quick release. He can shoot it kind of in movement, like coming down, doesn't matter. He doesn't have a spot on the floor. A lot of big men, there's only like one or two spots they want to shoot it from. No, it doesn't matter. He's an equal opportunist shooter with a quick trigger. And you saw that a couple times where Orlando, listen, the scouting report can say 7-foot center shoots the three, but most of these guys, they want to load up and it takes them longer to take the shot. And you could tell Orlando was like, oh, damn, he's pulling that like a guard, right? But I don't even want to focus on the shooting. We knew about that. I thought he had an impact defensively. And again, size, we've been complaining about size so long. Have you ever, it's all relative because we know these NBA players are the biggest, best athletes in the world. But if you've ever found yourself in a pickup game with a legit like 6'10" or 7-foot guy in there, even if they're not athletic, if they're standing around the rim, it's a problem. Like it changes how you have to approach things in the paint. And I think you saw that with Post. He's in the right spot at the right times. And you saw him come over and just get like a second contest over whoever was contesting, and it altered things. And the reality is his lack of bounce and verticality has made him a better player because he's positional. And you see how fundamental he is. When he catches the ball offensively in the paint, he's going to give you a pump fake, a crab dribble, a step through. He understands that to jump with guys is not his advantage. And it actually kind of allows him to play bigger because it's position-based. It's similar to Loon in a way, right? Like Loon, yeah, I've heard opposing announcers be like, well, Kevon Looney is a true big man, and then they basically made him sound like he was a 7-footer, right? Because he plays bigger than he is because when you stay on the ground as a big man, when you don't leave your feet, a lot of the times you can be bigger. You can use your weight, your positioning, the size of your frame. And so many of these young bigs, right? They're so Trace, for an example, right? He's so quick to jump because he is a great leaper. You lose your advantage in the air a lot of the time. And Post obviously doesn't have that problem. So I can't be more impressed with Post. And the most exciting thing about it is his mentality and his confidence, right? Because he looks like he wants more. He looks like he can start in a playoff series. Now, depending on the matchup, a pick and roll game, whatever it may be, he may get played off, but it's not going to be because he wasn't ready for the moment or he was scared or he didn't know what to do. It ain't going to be that. So to add that piece with Jimmy and the rejuvenation of Steve, Steph, and Draymond, I mean, we keep it rolling, man. We keep it rolling. It's exciting. I'll say this. Now that Steph emptied the clip, had just another legendary February, circle the date. I wonder what the sports books lines will be on Steph next February 27th. It's going to be crazy, right? But now that he emptied the clip and you go to Philadelphia for this primetime game, you'd imagine Jimmy looks a lot better against another former team of his in the Philadelphia 76ers, and he can carry more of the load, right? Because Steph, in order for us to get more of these, we can't be asking him to score 30 every night, and it doesn't look like we have to. Kuminga, on the end of this road trip, hope to see it. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.